Hi, my name is JP Saxe, and I'm here to spill the tea behind my tune, If the World Was Ending, with Julia Michaels. Well, of these teas, only 2 of them, 3 of them, half of them are caffeinated, so I'm definitely gonna pick a caffeinated one because I'm sleepy. So we're going with this one because I think it has the highest caffeine content and I'm going for functionality. So am I making this tea on camera? You wanna see me make the tea? This is like a whole tutorial. I think I'm doing a really good job. Did it. Now we're gonna sit in silence for 45 seconds while I let it steep because that's how long you steep green tea. Longer than that, it will be bitter, and no one wants a bitter green tea, just a bitter ginger. Well, the song is called If the World Was Ending, and it's about fantasizing about a situation where all of the reasons that get in the way of love are just not bigger anymore. They're not, that's an inelegant way of saying that. Basically, it's about imagining a situation where all the shit that gets in the way of love just doesn't anymore. And I'd like to think it's inspiring in that sense, that it's like the trivial reasons that get in the way of the love that you should be reaching for, and not the very valid reasons that get in the way of the love that you should no longer be reaching for. But I guess everyone's interpretation is up to themselves. Would you love me for the hell of it? All our fears would be irrelevant. If the world was ending, you'd come over right. Would you love me for the hell of it? All our fears would be irrelevant. One, as a songwriter, I definitely geek out on that rhyme. Hell of it, irrelevant. That one makes my heart smile a little bit. And also just, you know, that fantasy about the rational reasons that get in the way of love just being meaningless because of a situation where it's the apocalypse and you're not gonna wake up tomorrow anyway. Okay, so I've been asked a number of times now if the world was ending what I would do, and I have yet to determine really how I would feel about that. I think it's one of those arrive at the moment and just see what honesty feels like. Because like sometimes, it depends how sleepy I am and like how motivated I feel to like go somewhere. Ideally, I would already be with the people I love and then I can just stay put. I know, we know you weren't down for forever and it's fine. I oversteeped it, it's gross now. That whole speech about it being bitter and then I ruined it. I know, we know, you weren't down for forever and it's fine. I think that lyric is setting up this idea that we are recognizing in a non-ending world that it's not a relationship we should be in. But in an ending world, maybe it wouldn't be the same. The song came about, I was on a road trip and I was actually just talking about how I thought Julia was the most incredible songwriter artist of our generation, how she had like defined this era of pop songwriting, and then 20 minutes later I get a notification on my phone saying Julia Michaels has mentioned you in the store, and I was like, what is happening? And then she had posted my song 25 in Barcelona. I said, thank you. She said we should write together. I said, yeah. And then we got in the studio and we wrote this song the day we met. Yeah, working with Julia was pretty exceptional. She's unlike any collaborator I've ever worked with. She just seems to like mumble out brilliant things, and it was quite something watching it happen. Of course I'm afraid of earthquakes. Earthquakes are terrifying. Well, during the earthquake in Los Angeles, I was in the car, so I didn't feel it, which is why on the first verse I say I didn't feel it when the earthquake happened. And Julia was at a concert, and she did feel it, and she was wondering why everyone was freaking out, because she was like, this is normal, y'all are tripping. She's got a good heart, that one. But it really got me thinking. That night we went drinking, stumbled in the house and didn't make it past the kitchen. The story behind the kitchen. How specifically detailed would you like this to be, David? Not too graphic. I mean, look, if you're imagining the situation, I imagine you would imagine a kitchen island, but I don't have a kitchen island. It's a hypothetical kitchen. There's definitely been support for this particular song, which has been really cool because it's nice to be complimented, to be complicated. It is nice to be complicated. Not on purpose though. Anyways, I'm getting derailed. Don't try and be complicated, just be yourself. And if that's complicated, that's fine. It was nice to be complimented by a lot of artists I really admire. Well, Shawn Mendes posted it on his Instagram. That was cool, because I love that kid. I don't mean that diminishingly, Shawn. I just mean because you're young and we're both from Toronto, so I feel this like big brother Toronto spirit with you, even though you're 17 times more muscular than I am. Life is spinning now. I think I figured out how to think about you without it ripping my heart out. It's been a year now. I think I figured out how to let you go and let communication die out. I think it gets easier not to talk to the people you used to talk to every day the more days you spend not talking to them. And I don't think it's as simple as just not doing it. I think you have to figure out strategies to not talk to them, like not looking through the photos, which I suggest in my song Same Room. Well, I don't suggest it, I suggest my failure at doing it, but it's still a good strategy. And I think it's kind of a skill, getting over someone. You get better at it with time, and a year is a good amount of time. My go-to remedy for a breakup. Singing songs about the love for a year and a half around the country. That didn't help at all, I'm being facetious. That actually made it much harder, but, well, harder and easier. Harder because it was bringing me back to the memories that I was trying to move away from, which is the downside of writing so specifically about my own life. But made it easier because I was getting to use the love that I once had for a function that was for myself, which is, I guess, a fancy way of me saying, I think when you exit a relationship, there's the confusion of what am I gonna do with all this love now? And I was lucky to have an answer that was give it to my audience. Okay, top 3 collaborations in no particular order: Paul McCartney, Casey Musgraves, Lizzo. Well, Paul McCartney because he's a Beatle, and like they are important to music. That's an understatement. Casey Musgraves because that's one of my favorite albums of the last decade, and Lizzo because I just think we could do something really emotional together. I think my biggest fear about love is not having it, but I have it, so f*** being afraid.